How are you doing, guys? Someone wouldn't mind just pinging a note in the comments. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. I'd appreciate it. Great. Thank you, Daryl, CJ, Bob. Appreciate it. Let's just give it a few seconds and we'll kick in. I know we had the day of notification again, but it is what it is. With Lunch and Learn, we kind of do these things. Not on the fly, but we do try to keep them actionable. We'll do them each week going forward. It's been a really interesting time in the world of outbound deal origination. We're expecting that to continue going forward. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the world of email. That's not what we're talking about today, but with Google really cracking down after the Squarespace acquisition of Google Domains, they're anticipating that that's going to be very tight come February. So in terms of people really focused on outbound email, that kind of stuff, this world is consistently changing. How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you here. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll always try to bring up what's relevant week in, week out. So, all right, I think we've got enough here. Today, I'm just going to pop into stage one. I think we've got some first timers here, so I'll briefly touch on our long game deal origination process. And then I'm just going to go into kind of what you should think about in terms of optimizing your online brand, why we start with that when we onboard a client, how that is the basis for our deal origination philosophy, our entire process. And I'll show you the channels, the options that we think about, and then I'll just go through some tips for LinkedIn specifically. So we want to keep these things short, under half an hour, and I'll go through the tips on LinkedIn. And then we can talk about the other channels just in the community. We'll throw in a bunch of articles and tips and templates for you this week, just in the community. So let's pop into it. All right, if this is your first Lunch and Learn, I run BizNexus, specifically BizNexus Concierge, for the purpose of this webinar. We run deal origination for clients. We're a buy side and M&A deal origination services firm. And so everything that I go through in these webinars is really coming from the trenches of that, the wins, the fails. I think anyone who has been on this for a while, and we've been doing it since the pandemic kicked up, with a big break, obviously, over 2023. But I'm pretty honest. I think I'm pretty upfront about what we're doing that's working well, that's not working well, and I'll just keep doing that going forward. Hopefully you guys can get some clear value and something that you can implement when you walk out of these things, so it's worth your time. The big thing that we've gone through, I've put some of these initial slides in from that old presentation in 2018, guys. For those of you who are associated with the IBBA, you'll see some of those. I'm putting them in here just because nothing has really changed, right? I mean, the philosophy still holds true. So in terms of what has changed with marketing, your end target seller knows a hell of a lot more about you. So that's a great lead in for today, why you should bulletproof your brand specifically for your niche, because it doesn't matter how good your outbound is. It doesn't matter how good your copy is, your delivery. If they're finding red flags that are going to rule you out of transaction, that's a deal breaker in M&A. So you want to start with your online brand. And again, that's what we'll go through today. So that's the agenda. Why niche matters. So online brand, but niche online brand. We're talking about niche week in, week out, because I'm a strong believer in niche. I'll get into that in a second as to why. Which niche to choose. We get first-time acquirers talking about this all the time, and that's challenging. If you don't actually have a niche and you're just kind of zeroing in on one, we'll go through the ways that you can quickly kind of define your niche and build that out for the purpose of outbound deal origination. But hopefully you actually have a niche. Hopefully you're coming into this from some sort of expertise in the industry, and that's your niche. Not necessary, but advised. So our process for deal origination, 5-stage process, and this is what we've been doing since day one. So it begins with bulletproofing your online brand for conversion, right? Focusing on your target prospect, and making sure that your online profile matches the needs of the pain points of that end target prospect. Targeting, we'll do anything and everything, LinkedIn, databases, talking about targeting referral prospects, end target ICP, like seller prospects. We get into the granular there for what we like for targeting, what we see working, what we see not working. Well, building campaigns, building niche campaigns for each of your target prospects, right? So your end seller prospect, your referral prospects, how to nurture these prospects over time. That's going to be increasingly important as we move forward in this crowded landscape of outbound. And then capturing, making sure that your tracking is set up, your CRMs, everything with lead scoring, so that if your end target prospect is taking action that indicates they might be interested in having a conversation about evaluation or who their potential buyers might be, you've captured that, and there's a sales task that pops up in your CRM. So broadly speaking, that's what we go through. We dig in on one little thing each lunch and learn. And today we'll be in this optimize stage one. And again, I'm going to go through just why you should niche down, a couple LinkedIn tips that are going to that we give our clients when we get rolling with a new campaign with a new client, and then we'll continue that conversation in the community with the other channels. So the problem, if you're not aware of it today, everyone, I'm getting 200 to 300 emails a day in my inbox, and a lot of it is cold. I don't know if that's the case for people in this webinar, but it's gotten so flooded that email has become a challenging channel just in terms of separating yourself out from the noise. But it's also the industry. It's also with M&A, business brokers, you're competing with acquisition entrepreneurs, you're competing with business brokers. You got family offices and private equity and corporate acquirers. You're all going after that same seller prospect. So if you put yourself in the shoes of your end target seller, right? So today, let's talk about fintech. We'll say we're going after a fintech owner. That fintech entrepreneur is probably also getting like 200, 300 emails per day. So that's really challenging when you're talking about a 1, 2, 3, 4 outbound sequence. 99% of the people who you approach in this industry in M&A, I've always said, is like 99% of the people will not sit down and have a conversation with you about their most valuable asset, about whether they're thinking about selling or not. They don't know you. You haven't proven yourself to them. You haven't proven that you're an authority in your niche, that you're someone who can be trusted. So you get in front of them, and if the timing is right, great. You get a hand raise, you get a meeting, you get a phone call. If not, you have to be able to nurture them, and that has only become more true. And I think in 2024, we're going to see a lot of people switching to content from outbound, and that's coming from somebody who is running an outbound services firm, but really focusing on everything you can to pull in prospects with value, because it's gotten so crowded. Sorry about that, guys. So if you're an intermediary, or if you're in this as an acquirer for the long game, niching down and nurturing is your competitive advantage, right? So the majority of the first-time buyers, they're going to flame out in 12 to 18 months. And I don't say that negatively. I was a search funder, but the stats for search funds, making acquisitions are not good. Something like less than 5% actually make. Yes, CJ, there will be a recording of this. It's going to be in the community. The stats for search funders actually making an acquisition are not great. So when you're raising money to buy a business, or you're taking a break from the corporate world to go buy a business, and there's so many of these people out there doing this right now, and I think as the economy changes, there'll probably be more and more people looking for opportunities, maybe exploring acquisition entrepreneurship. There's a ticking clock, and that winds down, let's say, in a couple of years. And so these people are flooding the inbox of your end target seller. If you're a fund and you've got 10-year time horizon, or if you're a business broker and you're in it for the long game, for multiple engagements, this is a huge advantage to help separate you from all of that noise at the top of the funnel. So niching down, really planting that flag in your niche and staying in it consistently with content over the long term, it's really going to differentiate you building your M&A practice. Strongly believe it. It's my take, but So the point of going niche, what we like to see with going niche, you want to get that flywheel. You want to get that snowball effect, right? So if you pick the fintech niche, you also identify the referral prospects, right? So are there dev shops that focus on fintech, right? So you can set up an arrangement with a dev shop founder and they're referring you fintech owners. Think creatively about who those niche vendors are, who you can build relationships with. That's going to be an outbound email that performs much better than the email to the actual fintech owner themselves, right? Financial advisors, accountants, commercial insurance, lawyers focused on fintech, M&A, all of the usual suspects of referral prospects need to have specific campaigns for each so that you bring them into your network. They see you posting content, they see your newsletter, you build up that snowball effect, and then ideally you don't need any outbound at all if you're in this for a while and you're getting all the referrals. That's kind of the end goal. So this also is a slide from that original 2018 presentation for the IBBA where I was talking about the seller's journey. We call this guy Seller Bob, and the journey that he takes through to get to signing an engagement or transaction, right? And we started with this red box because this is building your online brand. This is your brand. This is where, regardless of how Seller Bob became aware of you or your offering, if he's hitting the Google box and he's typing in your name and he's seeing the articles and he's seeing your website, he gets to the point where he's actually on, let's say your LinkedIn profile, and he's either seeing a clear solution to his problems, to Seller Bob's problems. So sticking with the fintech analogy, he sees clear examples of the fintech owners who have been successful with you. He sees testimonials, right? He sees recommendations. He sees a profile that is truly niched down to Seller Bob, and that really increases conversion, right? So at the point when Seller Bob is actually thinking about what his options might be, you want to get that first hand raised. You want to be first in line to have that conversation. That's how I started this in 2018, and this really hasn't changed. This is what we're still doing. Tools have changed, what's working has changed, but process is still the same. So what you should be thinking about bulletproofing. Is this the right slide? Let's see. Let's see, guys. Hold on one second. Sorry here. Just want to make sure we've got the right presentation here, guys. Hang tight. 1 second, technical difficulties. All right, got it. Found it. Sorry, guys. Out of practice. All right, I haven't done this for a while. All right, so still with me? Great. Sorry about that, guys. Where do we like to think about niching down? LinkedIn, we're going to go through that today. Website, I'll put in some templates just to make up for that whole distraction we just had. I'll drop that in the community for you guys. Webinars are fantastic, whether you're doing your own webinar or getting on somebody's webinar in your niche. It's really great. And if you can get the video and maybe cut that up into shorts in this environment. Shorts are the little quick videos that all these platforms like YouTube are pushing. Those are getting lots of reach. Webinars are fantastic. Snail mail, flyers. We'll go through all of this in the community, and I'll drop in specific recommendations for each one. All right. So we'll put in actionable tips for these over the course of the week. Online branding tips. Since I lost some time there, I'm going to kind of cycle through this. If you're deciding about who your niche target should be, just think about who they are, what are their problems, what's the solution that you're providing. If you're a search funder, it's a little tough if you're a generalist, but if you can talk about like the benefit of a recap, if you go and buy the majority equity and then give them a second bite at the apple 5 years later, do you have a case study for that? Do you have the value for them? Call to action, everything else we'll run through this specifically in the community. So let's just go into LinkedIn for time's sake, and we'll go into kind of what we do with our clients for this LinkedIn channel. All right. So if you're niching down with fintech, what should you be thinking about when you're on LinkedIn? So I see a decent number of people here. This is an online branding. So I'm going to assume that a lot of the people here are somewhat beginners with LinkedIn or with optimizing your brand for a specific niche. First thing we think about is the headshot and the background photo, right? So if you have that cover photo, the background photo, ideally you have something clear in the middle. It's not just a picture of your family or your business logo. It can be something like text. If you're not familiar with Canva, get on Canva. It's free. You can make designs very easily. Your admin can, or you can just get on Fiverr and get a VA to do this for you. But you want to have something like solution for niche target, right? So in the fintech example, that could be exit planning for fintech founders, right? Something that is stupid simple. And same thing with the headline. We like the expression KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's what you want for anything at the top of LinkedIn above the fold, right? Think like newspaper, that first page above the fold. That's where people decide if they want to keep reading or not. That's going to get their attention or not. So headshot, make sure that, general tips, try to go for, a third of the, or 2/3 of the photo size. Don't have any distracting background. Again, Canva, if you have a great picture that you like with you and your family, you can remove that background in Canva very quickly and have a much better cover shot, maybe with a color background to get attention, stand out in a feed full of other profiles. The headline, we like to think about, especially if you're doing an outbound deal origination program, if you're going to be focused on a specific target, that fintech target, and if you're bringing them back into LinkedIn, whether you're reaching out to them through a connection request or sending an email or sending an email that kicks them back over to your LinkedIn, you want to have something that they could see in line for coffee and it makes sense, right? It's simple. It resonates with the croc brain. You can see clearly, okay, this is somebody who's speaking to founders and they accept or they reject. With InMail especially, you see that information. You see who it is. You see their headlines, kind of the pre-header like an email. And if it's relevant, you'll get the open and the read, maybe a reply. If it's not relevant, people are skipping right through because they know that that's a salesy approach. CTA link. So you can add a CTA link in your LinkedIn profile. This is relatively new. So if you haven't done this, you should do it. You can get in there, and in that top section, you can change here. Let me, I'll just share my profile, kind of show you what I'm talking about. You can put in a call to action link to either book a meeting or in this environment, if you have a lead magnet, you know what, I'm not going to go play with this again in terms of calling up LinkedIn. If you have a lead magnet, that could be a better CTA than booking a meeting. So think about if you're going to go straight for a meeting, or if your CTA could be in the fintech example, could you kick over to a white paper about fintech valuations? Could you have some sort of white paper on guides to fintech buyers, right? Different types of fintech acquirers. something that would be a valuable white paper where they're going to go through and they're going to give you their email, and then they're on a warm email list, or they're going to go through and hit a page and they're, then able to be retargeted through advertising. What is that call to action link? Is it something that's soft, that's an easy yes, like, yes, I want that fintech valuation white paper? Or are you trying to book a meeting because you're putting a bunch of content and they're going to click through to your profile and eventually they'll book the meeting? I leave it to you. For our clients, we do book a meeting because we know that content is going to be going on a regular basis. Ideally, people are going to be becoming more familiar with your brand over time. And so if they're clicking through your profile, you want to get that meeting so you can have that link. Now, after that, we have the featured section, which is a larger section on your LinkedIn profile, where a lot of people can put in, you can put in tombstones, you can put in social proof. That's great, but you can also have your calendar front and center. So schedule a meeting, book a meeting. And one nice hack that we like is, instead of using a Calendly link, which most people do, if you have a page, like in BizNexus, you can see in the top right corner of the page, it says book a demo. If you click on that, book a demo, that goes to one of our pages. So we know who's clicking through there. And if we want to do retargeting advertising, we can do that. You can't do that with Calendly. So if you embed your Calendly in your Squarespace page, in your WordPress page, and whatever your website is built on, and send people to that page to book, you're going to be able to do what we talk about a lot here in these lunch and learns, and that's retargeting. Retargeting is extremely effective for M&A. I'm not going to talk about that now, but we have in previous lunch and learns. We can do a separate lunch and learn just on that if you want. Just let me know. That's the featured section. You can throw your lead magnet in there as well. Activity. So if you're running an outbound campaign and you're targeting fintech owners, we see a lot of people failing on fintech relevant activity. When people are landing on your page for the first time, they're looking at it, they're checking to see if you've got a pulse, if you're active, if you're actually out there talking about anything. But ideally, if they see you talking about fintech, or they see fintech related activity, even better. So try to keep activity relevant if you can. Getting into the about section of your LinkedIn, one mistake we see a lot of is people talking about themselves, right? And their experience and their bona fides. And that's not bad. But ideally, you start with something that resonates with your end target prospect, with that fintech owner, right? So that could be the challenge that they're facing. Whatever that specific niche challenge is that you're intimate with, you talk about that, maybe a couple of insights that show about their industry, about their niche. You talk about how you help, and then you have your contact information front and center, maybe with some emoticons of a phone or a calendar, so it sticks out. And you have that at the bottom of your about section. So again, it's leading with about that fintech owner. So they see relevant. Once you're in the about section, this is where people are kind of digging in. If they've scrolled down to the about section, you want to make sure that this is where the good stuff is, the meat. So when you get to the experience, this is where you can talk about yourself a little more. This is where you can kind of brag and boast and put in your credentials and what you've accomplished. And again, retailer that for fintech, right? Even if you know you're going to be running a campaign for 6 months, you can quickly go through and update your profile to resonate with that fintech founder. That takes less than 20 minutes, but it's highly effective if you're running campaigns that are niche focused. Articles. There's no excuse to not have LinkedIn articles that are focused on a niche in a world of ChatGPT. With the right prompts, you can get 90% of the way there. You can have 3 to 5 articles. You can put those in your outbound campaigns, put those in your nurturing campaigns, and you have that there. One nice thing that we've been doing with ChatGPT that we think works well is in ChatGPT, bottom left-hand corner, you can click on settings, and then you can customize your ChatGPT. I went to a presentation earlier this summer, actually with Steve Schwartzman was presenting, and regardless of what you think of him, clearly he's done well, smart guy. And he was talking about AI and how he's kind of going all in on generative AI. And he was encouraging the audience to think of AI as the 1,000 IQ coworker sitting next to you, right? If you think about ChatGPT that way, and you think of this as a coworker who can create content for you, can help you with your outbound. What we've been doing is tailoring the niche to ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, you can say, I'm an M&A advisor, or I'm an acquirer, and I'm focused on fintech. I work with fintech founders. In your content for LinkedIn posts, focus on fintech. And then if you're asking for LinkedIn posts, it's always going to be tailored around fintech. It's pretty cool. Give it a shot and let me know what you think. But for us, it's been working really well, and it's a great way to tailor that. So that's one tip that we like. Recommendations, licenses, volunteering. Again, whatever you can have that's relevant. Your recommendations. If you're running a fintech campaign, make sure that at least the first recommendation is fintech. Right? Go out and get one before you hit go on the campaign. If you have that there, even just one makes a big difference. Make sure that that's front and center. That's your top one. Licenses, volunteering. It's good to show that you're engaged, even if it's outside of your niche. And then interest, that's one. It shows front and center on your profile at the bottom. So not front and center, but just directly on your profile. If you have interests that are relevant to your niche, so join the fintech groups, follow the fintech thought leaders, have that down there so they see fintech, just another added bonus there. So other options we like, again, we've gone through this. We're going to start putting these little community icons here on the slides when we're going to be talking about other stuff in the community. So go to businessnexus.com, click on community, get in there. It's free at the ground level. And we'll have webinars. We're going to be going through kind of what we've just done for LinkedIn here, but we'll do it for the company page and talk a little bit about smart links and what we like to do basically for any of our campaigns on like with LinkedIn. And then we'll give you the kind of 101 on the website and what we think a home page should be, how you keep it simple, keep it in one lane towards either acquiring a business or representing someone to sell their business. We'll give you our tips for that. And then other channels, webinars, retargeting, or other options. Snail mail flyers, right? If you're sending out niche flyers, that's fantastic compared to the generalist flyers that these owners are getting. Paper flyers still work in M&A. So if you can niche down and you have that niche flyer and send it to a niche audience, that's something that we highly recommend. If you have budget for it and you want to do that, send that out once a quarter. It's a great way to do it. Phone scripts, we'll show you kind of some of the prompts that we use to create some of our phone scripts. Again, ChatGPT prompts. All of our phone scripts have really been created by ChatGPT with the right prompts at this point. So we'll show you, how we do some of the niche prompting there to create the right scripts. Paper publications, events, Twitter, all the usual spots. So if there's an action plan for you between now and next week, or if you want to pop into the community, ask questions or email us, think about, if you haven't niched down, think about what your niche would be. Do you have relevant experience? Are you choosing a niche blind? If so, what are the industries that are likely to be active going forward in a down economy, right? What are the industries that private equity is looking at? So if you want to tap into that $2.5 trillion in dry powder out there that's got to be deployed, what are the targets that they're looking at? How can you either go in there and buy, roll up smaller businesses and pass something off to them that would be interesting? Or if you're an intermediary, how do you go and rep multiple transactions or maybe get a buy side retainer? You want to, in my opinion, you want to be connected with the industries and the deals that are going to be transacting over the next 12, 18 months. And ideally, that's going to be something that private equity or companies with cash are looking at, because we think that's going to be what's active going forward. So that's it, guys. Other than, I'm not going to do the big pitch, but if you're interested in working with us, just schedule a demo. We can go through our options. We've got a great new partner program that is based on success only, and we partner. So we accept people. We need to have a niche. We need to think that you're going to be successful, and then we pretty much facilitate everything. So if you're curious about that, request a demo and we'll run you through it. Other than that, hop in the community and we'll have the other channels, those articles that I promised, those will be there. We'll drip those out this week, and we'll see you next week for the Lunch and Learn. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Thanks for coming, guys.